Hey guys, Doug here from Survival Archery Systems. Today I decided to take a break from the office and come out and have some fun. So today we are going to bust up some arrows. There's the old debate of carbon versus aluminum arrows for survival, but I wanted to go one step further and talk about specifically aluminum versus carbon takedown arrows. And why this is important is going to come down to safety at the end of the day, and I wanted to see, are the aluminum and are the carbon arrows safe for use in a survival situation, or are you looking for trouble or looking for losing more arrows than you need to in a survival situation? So stick with me, let's have some fun. Okay, so we're going to look at 3 arrows today. The first arrow is an aluminum arrow. This is one of the arrows that we at SAS sell at our online stall. It's a 400 spine Eastern XX75 game getter that we modify into two 15.5 inch halves, making a 31 inch arrow. We're going to take a look at that one. We're also going to look at an arrow that we were busy developing to be a carbon takedown arrow. This is the Gold Tip Hunter 400 spine. Again, it's a 31 inch arrow that we've pretty much used the same insert in, just reducing the diameter a bit. We decided not to launch a carbon arrow, and we'll find out about that in a few moments why. And then we have another carbon arrow from one of the other manufacturers. I'm actually not going to mention any names at this stage, but I'll show you more about the type of design on this arrow, and we're going to have a look at just some of the dangers around that you guys need to be aware of when you make a decision on what to purchase. And guys, this is not about knocking other manufacturers, and that's why I'm not going to mention any names, but this is about safety. We at SAS are all behind your safety, and this is an educational video to help you guys stay safe in the field and make sure that you get home alive and well. Okay guys, so we're going to be shooting into the wood first. I've got 3 carbon arrows here. 2 of the carbon arrows are the 500 spine. One of them is the Gold Tip 400 spine that SAS was going to launch but decided not to for safety reasons. And then I have 2 of the aluminum takedown arrows from SAS as well. Let's see how they do. Now the Gold Tip. And the 2 aluminum arrows. That one hitting so hard it actually came out. Right, so I'm just going to turn the camera around so that we can see this properly. So I'm just going to switch it off for 1 second. Okay, now I can see what's going on the screen. You can see the arrows are in the same position, so no, I did not come and stick them in because I don't think I would have got them in this far. So let's look at the 500 spine arrows. Well, let's take a look at them inside here first. As you can see, there don't seem to be any cracks or fissures in any of the arrows. At the tip, at the takedown points, there don't seem to be any cracks or anything there. So on the wood it looks pretty good. Let's try and get some of these out of here. Man, these things are in deep. Let's try and wiggle this back and forth. So obviously this is going to be one of the things you're going to have to do in the field. Let's wiggle it back and forth. And that looks pretty good. That's the aluminum arrow. Now one of the 500 spines. Now obviously aluminum is going to go in a little bit deeper because it's going to be a bit narrower. So now we have to wiggle this back and forth and try and hold it as close to the wood as possible because then you're not going to damage your shaft. Okay, as you can see, this is going to take some time, so let's take one of the other two out. It's going to be a little bit better. This is the gold tip. It looks pretty good. And then this is one of the 500 spine. And that also looks pretty good. I'm going to switch the video off and try and get this one out now. Okay, so this is the one I just wiggled out of the wood, and it seems to be fine. So on wood, carbon and aluminum, yeah, I've only taken 5 shots, but they seem to do equally as well. Okay, so now for the fun part. This is what I came out here to do. We've got a big ass rock over there, and this is probably going to ricochet back at me. That's why I got my glasses on. But let's bust some arrows. So same sequence. With 2 of the 500 spine first, then we've got 200 of the 400 carbon spine, and then another 2 of the aluminum 400 spine. I hope this doesn't hurt. Oh! We have a dead arrow. We have 2 dead arrows. I hope there's no one watching me out here. They think I'm crazy. We have another busted arrow. Damn. You guys see the sparks off that rock? Right, so now we have the aluminums. Okay, let's go collect them and see what we got. Okay guys, let's have a look here. We have, first of all, the 500 spine arrows. Now, as you can see, the heads have been absolutely driven right back into the shaft. And this one's got a crack and a fissure right up to, I'd say, about 1.5 inches from where it started, and this one's not so bad, but you can see it's ruptured. Got little micro cracks quite far along. If we look at the center joint, seems to be alright, although if you have a look there, you can see that a little piece of the carbon is chipped off there. So that's an indication of quite a bit of impact coming right up the shaft, even to the center joint, which is probably not a very safe thing. Look at the gold tips. Man, we wrecked these arrows. So the gold tips, now obviously this is not what one does with your arrow, so nothing against gold tip. This is what we do when we shoot rocks, but this one is fractured all the way along, pretty much making the arrow much shorter than your draw length. And a similar situation for the second gold tip. If we look at the center pieces, it's busted the arrow shaft right out of the the inserts, as you can see on the bottom one. And just the fact that that's come so loose and there's a big gap means there's some damage inside there. So we've got 4 arrows that are useless in their current configuration. You might be able to fix one of the carbon arrows, one of the 500 spines, by cutting it shorter if you have like a repair kit in the field. But honestly, I would not feel safe shooting these arrows anymore. Okay, the aluminums. Now here's the interesting thing about aluminum arrows is they pretty much have just broken off. So if you look there, they're pretty much just broken right off. A little bit of a dent, but there's no rupturing and there's no splintering right up the shaft. So they've pretty much broken off within like half an inch of where the tip was, probably the length of the insert. So you could probably cut those shorter and reuse those arrows without too much change to your draw length. If you're shooting 1 or 2 inches longer than your draw length anyway, that's going to be alright. And if we look at the insert in the middle, this insert is fine. This one has shifted a little bit out, so that's probably also not such a good thing. But if we tug really hard on them, and this is one of the tests that I put in my user manual, is to test an aluminum arrow, you're not going to bend it back and forth. And I'll tell you more about later, but you actually pull to see if that insert is loose or not. No, it's not. On this one, no, it's not. So those two are still shootable. If it wasn't splintered right up the shaft, those ones would be shootable. No good. And this is not a glue thing, guys. We use the same epoxy on our aluminum shafts than we do on our carbon shafts. And wow. Okay, so as you can see, the aluminum doing a little bit better in terms of repairability. You're still going to have a busted arrow if you're hitting with that much kinetic energy into something as solid as a rock. But the aluminum arrows are doing a little bit better. As you can see, the carbon just splintering up all over the place. Okay guys, so the next thing I want to talk about is about safety in general and the testing of your arrows. And I want to start out by showing you one of the arrows, which is one of the 500 spine arrows that I talked about earlier. And again, I don't want to take a dig at any manufacturer, and actually I hope that if this manufacturer does see this video, that they would have a look at their design. I'm not sure if they've changed their design, because admittedly I purchased these arrows about 2 years ago, so I'm guessing that they've changed their design by now, and I'm just hoping that their customers are safe. I'm all about safety. I want you guys, all of you, to be safe out there, whether you're a customer of mine or not, and this is kind of what this video is about. So I want to show you, if you are purchasing an arrow that has an insert that looks like that, and this is really just a piece of threaded bar that's been screwed into 2 standard aluminum inserts. That's a real weak point, because you've got quite a bit of flex. Now I'm going to tighten this up, and I'm going to show you what happens. Now when you shoot your bow, your arrow comes out of your bow and it flexes. Okay, it flexes as it porpoises through the air. And if you're doing that a number of times, this is what's going to happen. Okay, I'm going to wiggle this a few times, and let's say we're going to wiggle it about 20 shots. And I'm not talking about testing your arrow, I'm talking about shooting your arrow. Testing your arrow is something else. Now, if you take a look at that, what has happened is your joint is actually weakened. Can you see the gaps there? Your joint has weakened to the point that this could be really dangerous. And the reason why I say dangerous is because if you're in a shooting position, and as you fire, this arrow breaks in half, which is a very real possibility with an insert like this. As you fire, this breaks in half. That arrow is going to go straight through your hand. straight through your arm, and you're going to have an injury that in a survival situation you may never come back from. You're one-handed in the wilderness alone, hungry, you can't use your bow anymore, you pretty much can't do anything with one hand. My suggestion is have a look at the Takedown arrows you're buying. Think about durability, think about the design, and rather purchase an arrow that you know is going to be safe for you. With a proper insert, and let's take a look at the insert. The shaft that goes into the aluminum insert on the arrow is actually correctly fitted so that there is no play between the components. So what you can do is you can bend this thing, and now I'm really bending this. You can bend this thing backward and forward, do whatever you want to it, but it's still going to give you a good joint. As you can see, there's no gaps, nothing like that. Takedown arrows, we do not suggest that you bend them at all. If you have a carbon arrow, and there are some good carbon arrows out there and takedowns, so I'm not dissing carbon arrows in general, we just are saying why we did not want to. We felt it was unsafe. But if you do want to test a carbon arrow, now normally with a carbon arrow you would flex the carbon arrow so that you can listen for little cracks and pops. If you hear any cracks and pops, it means the arrow is damaged, there's a problem in the carbon epoxy matrix, and you should throw that arrow away. Now with a takedown arrow you actually can't do that. So what we recommend with a carbon arrow is one of two things. The best thing to do is to test each half individually, and what you should actually do is unscrew each half and then test each half individually, listening for cracks and pops. Okay, that is what I would say you should do if you own carbon arrows, and if you want to continue shooting carbon takedown arrows, test them in that way. The second thing you should do to test the arrow is to pull it apart like I did earlier and make sure that those inserts are safe and not coming loose. On our aluminum arrows we don't suggest flexing the shaft at all, because we feel that with aluminum you're either going to see a crack or it's not going to be there. So we just suggest checking the center joint. Don't bend it back and forth. Aluminum has fatigue, and bending it back and forth too much is also not the best thing for that. So in general, guys, make sure that you check your arrows, test your arrows, keep yourself safe, keep yourself in as best condition as you can in a survival situation. So SAS, we will stick with aluminum. We could be making a lot more money if we were selling carbon arrows, but we've decided that because of the safety of our customers, both past and future, we would rather make a little bit less money and sell you an aluminum arrow. Yes, it might be slightly heavier. Yes, it'll probably give you a little bit more kinetic energy because it's a heavier arrow, but it's going to be safe. And in a survival situation, that's what it's all about. It's about getting home. It's about making it through. It's about coming to the other side, seeing your family again, getting back to civilization, and being able to have a good night's sleep at the end of the day. So from a carbon arrow point of view, SAS decided we don't need to make the money. We don't want people to get hurt. From an aluminum point of view, we'll show you how to repair these next week. If you've got a little file or a little saw or something that you can cut off, we're going to show you how you can repair these, and we're going to show you how that you can actually reuse an arrow that's been shot into hard bone, rock, or a tree if it busts up. Guys, I hope you've enjoyed this video, and would love to hear your feedback at the bottom. I'm always open to suggestions. Thank you for those of you who've purchased from us, and we hope to see more people purchasing from us in future, and we really appreciate what everyone does for us. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Cheers.